What's the story?
I don't know.
Okay, we've gone live. So just going to do a brief introduction here. So hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm your main host, James Alexander. Today, we're going to cover another exciting match in the FIFA 2022 World Cup held in Qatar. And the match we're going to be discussing and commentating on tonight is Australia against Tunisia. So last time we had lots of guests with us. We had, Zach and Owen, who are joining us again tonight, and then we also had, Gab, who will be able to make it tonight. But as the game progresses, we're going to be giving you live commentary, and also we're going to be discussing lots of interesting points, expectations and experiences of past World Cups. Okay, and I'm just going to say a little bit in Chinese for our Chinese audience. 因为我们现在也在微信的直播平台上进行直播。欢迎大家，我是你们的主持人詹姆斯，我是来自英国。欢迎来收看我们第二场比赛。我们前几天我们给你们讲解了德国对日本的比赛，然后非常感谢当天大家对我们的关注。今天我们要给大家呈现澳大利亚对突尼斯这个竞赛的比赛。然后今天我们有更多的嘉宾加入。最后一点是我们开始讲解之前，我也想提出一下，我们各位观众很欢迎随时给我们提出宝贵的评论。我希望这样我们可以进行更多的互动。非常感谢。Okay, so at this point, I can see the players are coming out. Would you like to give a brief introduction for yourself? And if you can, also maybe say a few words in Chinese. So, Paul, would you like to take it away?
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm from Australia, and I'm basically here to watch Australia win tonight.
Hey.
Yeah, I think that's a good chance. Okay, so 我们刚才跟我们说话的朋友是来自澳大利亚的保罗，他在重庆住了差不多7年，然后他是一个非常非常高水平的一位专业的厨师，在重庆开了多家餐厅，非常欢迎他的加入。Okay, then we also have a new guest. So Eric, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, hello, I'm Eric. 我叫 Eric. 我来自爱尔兰。我是英文老师，在重庆。我在中国6年，4年在重庆和2年在兰州，在甘肃。
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so thank you very much, Eric. Of course, I know Zach and Owen need no introduction, but just for our listeners tuning in for the first time, Zach, would you like to say a few brief words about yourself?
大家好，我叫名字 Zach， 我住在重庆，9年多。今天我和朋友们一起我看足球，我今天觉得澳大利亚它是厉害的踢足球 They will win 1-0, I think. I'm having a cup of tea, and here is my tea ready, just in case of emergency. Okay, there you are.
Very nice.
Okay, but most importantly, as last time, you can see on my jersey, on this side, yeah, there it is. There's a star on my jersey. It means that England won the World Cup once. So my story is this. Only once, dude. Okay. And allegedly, some bloke stole the cup and they found it under a tree because a dog found it. That's the old mythical story. Now, I'm sure Owen and the rest of the guys are going to say, nah, that's a lot of rubbish. But yes, there you are.
That is true. That is true.
That's true. The dog
cup went missing before the World Cup. Before it started.
All right, go on. So,
it was found in a ditch.
Found in a ditch, yeah. So
okay, and then finally, one more time, Owen, could you introduce yourself for our audience tonight?
大家好，我叫 Owen，我来自爱尔兰，我和 Eric 我们是从一个地方来的，我在中国 快13年，12年，在重庆差不多10年，12年。我是爱尔兰人，我现在要看，要澳大利亚赢了，我要澳大利亚赢了，因为他们好久没赢过比赛在世界杯，所以差不多6个比赛他们没赢过，所以要他们赢了，而且在我旁边，这个就是我的女朋友，她叫韩，她是本地的人，本地的重庆人。
我们会在看比赛的途中讨论这场球赛。
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
cool.
thank you very much. So, like I said, Tunisia and Australia have very similar records in the World Cup. So this time is Australia's 6th appearance in the World Cup finals. Okay, and so far they played 17 games with 2 wins, 4 draws, and 11 losses. Tunisia very similar. Also their 6th appearance in 16 games. They have 2 wins, 5 draws, and 9 losses. So if you look at their record, it looks like it's going to be a very close game. So, gentlemen, now one by one, what are your predictions for the game tonight?
I'll go.
I think Australia will win 2 goals to 1.
2 goals to 1. All right. I might contest that one. Say it'll be one goal, and I'm going to put my money on Goodwin. Now, Goodwin has scored a lot of goals for Australia consistently over the last year, in particular. So I'm going to favour that. The Tunisians are similar to the Senegals. They have a good striker, but they're not that potent or efficient. So hopefully they can score 2 goals so they can have a cushion. But 1-0 is going to be a pretty good score for Australia.
Yeah, I think this one is very, very tough to call. I mean, these 2 teams are very evenly matched. I want to say there's going to be goals in this, so I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to go positive. I'm going to say this is going to be 3-2 to either team. I can't call this one.
Yeah.
I think one of these teams has to win this game if they want to qualify. Simple as.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Eric. Like Australia, they lost, but they lost to the world champions. Like France are the world champions. They lost 4-1. They did all right. But what did he expect? Tunisia, they were very respectable in getting a draw against a good Danish team. They had a really good showing the last time out. And they should be proud of themselves. So they'd probably be up for it. But one thing they didn't do was attack. They didn't really commit anyone forward in the last game. And I think they'll look at this and say, "Oh, Australia have let in 4. I think we can go for this."
Yeah.
But I think they might underestimate Australia. I think
a lot of people
go for goals. I'm going for goals. I'd say, yeah, like you, but I think Australia will win this. I'm going to
go Tunisia. I'm going to go Tunisia 3-2.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just
I'd say
because
3-2.
what you said, they looked very, very good against Denmark. They were very well organised. But
they were tight at it was kind of tight at the back. So, like, if Australia go and get one, then it could be game on. It could be.
The Aussies were unlucky not to get another couple of goals against the French too.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And if you can score goals against the French, you can score goals against Tunisia. You know. So
the Tunisian defenders, Taibi and the leader of that is Mira, but on the right side, on the left side, is a bit weak. So if he plays a sweeper role, I'm thinking the Aussies going to catch him on the break.
Yeah.
There's a good chance for the Aussies to catch him on the break. But with their strikers are pretty nippy. The only thing is defensively they're not that strong. So we're going to see how. I prefer the Aussies on the defensive side.
I've got this on for my man, the former Arsenal goalkeeper, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, the Aussie boy, he played for Brighton and he played for Arsenal. He's off in.
He did all right against the French too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
He was under the pump.
Yeah, he's a good goalie. And yeah, there's a couple of lads to bring on as well. Like a couple of lads on the bench. I don't know. I think it's very easy to. It'd be very easy to write off Australia, and I think.
What's Hansi think?
Sorry.
What's Hansi think?
What do you think?
I think Tunisia will win.
What?
It's a very unusual World Cup this year, so I think.
Oh my God! Who bought Hansi?
Oh yeah, and also I can tell everybody.
Yeah, I like the beer.
On this live broadcast, somebody came up with an excellent suggestion, and that is Paul could sing us live the national anthem of Australia. So
it's
Paul,
already done.
Can you do that?
Mine is kicked off now.
When we win, I will for sure.
James, are
好吧，
you?
那我给我们的观众总结一下吧。我们刚才我们
Have you guys kicked off already?
Yes.
Yep. What are you going?
I'm at 35 seconds.
我们理智认为
I think I'm about a minute behind as well because mine hasn't kicked off. I'll tell you when it kicks off.
他们以为突尼斯要获胜，所以到底这个比赛会怎样发展，我们就拭目以待吧。
Zach, you have the England jersey on today.
Yeah, my expectation. I mean, I'm going to go for an Australian win. I don't know what the scoreline is going to be, but I think a lot of the games so far this World Cup have been relatively tight. So I'm kind of expecting it might be a 1-0 or a 2-1 win. But I've got some interesting information about Australia as well, because I remember from my youth in the qualifying stage, Australia always used to be in the Oceania qualifying group, didn't they? But there's a problem with that because Australia, they always played weak teams, maybe like, no offense, but maybe Nauru, Vanuatu or something like that. And if they won that qualifying group, they didn't get direct qualification for the World Cup finals. They had to go into a playoff with with one of the runner-ups from South America, and that's always landed them traditionally with a tough team. Maybe something like Ecuador or Peru, Colombia, teams like that. So I can't remember which year it was exactly, but they switched from Oceania to the Asia one because Asia has a lot more qualifying spots, and it's really since they made that wise move that we've had the pleasure of seeing Australia take part in a lot of the recent World Cup competitions.
Yeah. I remember going back a little while ago. They had qualifiers against teams like the Cook Islands, and no disrespect to the Cook Islands, but there's probably 1,000 people on the Cook Islands. Like, how are they meant to put a football team together against Australia? And these games were 25-30-0. Australia.
I do remember a game in England. They played on the news. They beat some team. It must have been Nauru. That might be the reason I remember this. So I think they won a game 32-0, something like that.
Isn't that the record for the biggest win or something?
Yeah.
It could have been a record win.
Yeah, it's very much it was very much a one-sided qualifying thing. It was them and New Zealand and nothing else.
Right, and I suppose in the Asia qualifying group, I suppose the biggest competition will come from Japan, South Korea, Iran, perhaps.
Well, to be fair, Saudi Arabia has done very well. Saudi Arabia done very well the other day. You got South Korea, Japan, China. Even when they get their stuff together, they haven't been a force really for the last little while. But yeah, they're potentially decent. They're potentially decent.
OK， 所以我们刚才讨论一下一个就是有趣的一个信息点，这个就是之前澳大利亚他们参加预选赛的时候，他们是属这个澳洲区，基本上每一次他们都会出现，就会至少排第1名，但是这个有一个问题啊，既然要排了在澳洲排了第1名的一些国家，他们不能直接进入世界杯决赛，他们要跟南美洲排第4名或者第5名的一个强队进行一个淘汰赛。这样的时候，可能他们要对付的这个对象比较强，就是说经常有厄瓜多尔呀、哥伦比亚这样的、墨西哥这样的国家，所以有时候他们成功进入世界杯决赛的时候，会遇到比较大的困难。但是他们前几届世界杯，他们就转去了。现在他们参加预选赛的时候，他们不是参加澳洲区，他们就转为亚洲区。这样的话，他们现在的主要竞争对手就是日本、韩国。我们还提到了，就是前几天战败阿根廷的沙特阿拉伯。但是他们转为亚洲区以来，他们基本上每一次世界杯都能参加决赛。
Okay, so yeah, another interesting about Australia is going to come up with is that they have another name for their team, which is Socceroos. Okay, and interestingly, for me, Australia, when I first watched them play in a tournament, was 2006, and they played. We faced Brazil, Japan, and Croatia, and then they had Cahill playing for them, the old top Evertonian player. So
yeah, in the past there have been some class Australian players. I suppose in terms of mind, definitely be Harry Kewell. So about Harry Kewell was a successful player in the late 90s, early 2000s.
They're a good team in the late 90s. They had Mark Viduka up front as well.
Yeah, they got to the
Leeds boys.
They got to the quarter. Oh, they got to the last 8.
Yeah, and then you had the Charlton centre back Mark Fish. He was there as well. He was a good player.
So I mean, Australia's got some really top players.
Remember him?
Mark Bosnich, a United man, yes.
Yeah.
He's a United man, yeah. Bosnich is good, yeah. So Australia's got some very famous players that we know of.
Yeah.
Just make that. So personally, I think Australia's this team is not as good as that team. I think this team is not. I don't see it as being strong as that team from.
No, there are no household names in this team.
No.
I know.
No, I mean, I've got a team list here with the clubs they play for. I don't see a lot of big name teams. So goalkeepers, Matt Ryan plays for FC Copenhagen. So there were some of the players, who play for like teams audience might know of. There's a defender called Harry Sutar, plays for Stoke City.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player, but he's probably playing below his level. He's probably should be it could be a division higher, that guy.
Yeah, I don't know if Stoke City are still in the Championship, but we also have Bailey Wright playing for Sunderland.
Yeah,
a lot of Australian players playing in Denmark and particularly Scotland. So you've got players at Heart of Midlothian, Dundee United, and got Alan Moy, an Australian player, and plays in midfield for Celtic.
Yeah.
Riley McGree, another midfielder, plays for Middlesbrough.
I'm a Tunisia fan now.
Okay.
Maybe one more. He plays for Cadiz.
Yeah, a trivia point. When did Australia draw? Who did Australia draw with in an official tournament? I'll give you a clue. It starts with East.
East Timor.
East Germany.
East Germany is correct. East Germany is right. They drew 0-0, and that was the first ever significant draw against a big team. That was a long time ago. So, I was just wondering why they call Socceroos, because I never understood that one. So,
Socceroos.
Portmanteau.
Socceroo.
Yeah. It's a portmanteau of soccer and kangaroo. Socceroo.
So that explains.
It's not rocket science.
Done.
I tell you, one of the best matches that I've ever watched on TV was Australia, and it was in 2002 against Brazil. Remember that? They lost 1-0 against Brazil, and I was with a whole bunch of Brazilian people, and after the game, about 500 Brazilians just started sambaing through the streets of Dublin. It was brilliant. Traffic coming to a halt, and putting flags over cars and stuff. It was cool. And the Australians, they know how to have a good time. That is a fact. As do the Brazilians.
That is true. Was that at the?
As do the Irish.
Yeah, it was a World Cup.
Lots of these teams, USA, have a habit of playing well against England.
Yeah.
So I remember, about 20 years ago, there was a friendly. Maybe it was played at Upton Park between England and Australia, and I'm just going to check the results of that one. But Australia, they played very well as well. So it's kind of a surprise to see that they actually haven't won that many games in World Cup competitions.
Yeah. I think they've been unlucky, to be honest. I think they've been unlucky, like 2002, pulling up, getting Brazil, and they always have a hard draw. They always seem to have a hard draw.
They did get the group of death with Croatia in there as well. Croatia was quite lethal. Yeah. So when they came in, it's like they met a very an emerging Croatian team that was much stronger in their midfield. So they struggled there.
Yeah, and at that World Cup as well, they were beaten very narrowly by Italy. Italy went on the World Cup, and the
Italians took a dive in the last minute. Got a penalty.
They probably did as well. Yeah,
that's true.
I didn't watch soccer again for 5 years after that.
It's like you just need a bit of luck. It's like Australia just needs a bit of luck. They're always right there. They don't get beaten heavily. They just get drawn against Brazil and Italy and France and all sorts of what are they to do? Yeah. And they get drawn against them when they're on form as well.
But that's going to happen though when you're bottom seeds at the World Cup draw. Usually.
Yeah, that's true.
You're going to have at least 2 heavyweights in your group.
Going into this tournament without Viduka or likes Viduka does worry me, but their strike is not bad up front, as I mentioned earlier. Their strike force. Let me quickly recap myself, but yeah, I was looking at the stats. Some of them have scored goals in last season for their domestic league, so they're coming in with form. They're not famous, but they're coming in with form. So there's a chance they might nick a few goals.
We're sponsored by YouTube.
Cheetos. 那我给我们的观众说一下吧，我们前几分钟我们讨论了一下澳大利亚队为什么叫 Socceroos 知道就是足球英文当中有2个说法，一个就是 football， 但是 football 对于不同国家的人可能有不同的理解。当然在英国足球就是我们现在所看的这个 football。但是如果你在美国或者一些其他的国家说 football， 可能他们的理解就是橄榄球之类的体育项目吧。然后 soccer， 所以我们说 soccer 一般就是一种统称吧。不管你在哪一个国家说这个单词，大家都能理解。然后 Socceroos 这个 roos 的一个部分呢，因为我们都知道澳洲的一个代表动物就是袋鼠，袋鼠就是 kangaroo 对吗？所以呢 Socceroo 表示澳大利亚足球队就是 soccer 和 kangaroo 合起来的一种合成单词。
Hannah, surprised your English is so good.
Did you guys see that? The fans yesterday, or the United States fans yesterday, they were chanting It's called soccer. It's called soccer during the game against England.
That's right.
Yeah, sometimes if I speak to an American, I might have to like refer to it as like real football, but that doesn't always go down well.
But
然后这我们也讨论了一下澳洲到现在为止的，如果在世界杯世界杯的成绩，其实如果你看他们的成绩，他们赢过的比赛不是特别多。我们说可能其中一个原因就是他们进入决赛的时候，他们参加小组赛的时候，他们经常有一些比较强大的对手啊，像意大利呀、巴西、阿根廷这样的国家，所以他们这方面的运气有点差。然后保罗刚才就是也开了一个玩笑啊，他们上一届或者前一届世界杯，他看了意大利对澳大利亚的一场比赛，然后差不多要过90分钟的时候，他们还是一个平局，但是最后还是被意大利绝杀了。然后后来他有5年的时间再次就没有看世界杯。
Just as another a bit about Tunisia, I'd like to mention something about that. They came into this World Cup with a couple of wins against Chile and Japan and a team called Cosmoros. But against Brazil, they got a hammering 5-1. So you can get an idea from that game that against a decent striking force, their defensively they're a little bit weak. They drew against Denmark in the first round. So, but against Brazil, of course. Tunisia attackingly is great, but defensively a little bit lacking.
Exactly.
Okay, so I have another question I would like to ask you guys. I know it was a very late game, but did anybody watch the USA-England game live?
I watched half of it.
I got up in the morning.
Yeah. So Zach had his hand up just then. So I have to admit I didn't stay up to watch it. Kind of midnight is getting a bit late for me now. I'm in my 40s, but Zach did a good job. Zach, do you think 0-0 or 0-0 was a fair result for that match?
Probably, yeah.
Go ahead. It was a morning start, but to make it a little bit more exciting and to motivate myself, I had a little red wine to go with it, which I'm recovering this afternoon. There was a few lads online watching it with me, so there's about 5 or 6 of us watching it at 3 o'clock in the morning. We were anticipating great results, but as England always has Achilles' heels, the weak point is Australia was just America was a little bit. They outplayed us, and it looked quite scary towards the end with extra time. They nearly got a couple of goals on target that could have been a nail in a coffin. As per the game, I didn't think we deserved to win it. A draw is a fair result.
So Zach, do you think Southgate is too negative?
He played too defensive.
Why does he approach a game against the USA, for example, in that way? Like, England have enough quality to beat USA very comfortably, but they don't.
We played into their strategy. We played a defensive game. We can't keep the ball. Against in the first game, although we won 6-0, we conceded 2 goals, not because we're bad at defending. We just can't keep the ball that well. So we're better at attacking. I don't know why he didn't get that message from the first game. I hope he gets it. Otherwise, I think we might be on a losing streak.
He didn't get that message in the last World Cup. He didn't get that message in the last World Cup. He didn't get that message in the European Championships, and he's not going to get it in this World Cup. There's no place for tactics like that anymore. And to be honest, England could win the World Cup, but I really doubt that they'll do it with Gareth Southgate. Because it's just old school. When you come up against a half-decent team, defend and
there we go. Something going on here?
Oh.
What you need to be doing is you need to be putting on your attacking players and get them to defend from the front. But he's obviously 1990s style football.
Yeah, he likes the slow build-up play.
Yeah,
Knock it around. But teams that's so easy for some teams to defend against.
Well, it's easy enough to do if you're playing against a weak team. If you're playing against an Iran, you're grand. You can do it. It's no problem. But when you play against a good team, okay, fair enough. You might not have as much of the ball, but it's about getting it in the right areas. They never have it in the right areas when you play the possession game.
Yeah, they strike me as well as a team without a plan B.
Yeah,
if it's not working for them, if plan A is not working, then they're screwed.
The other thing that annoys me is we've got a lot of brilliant defenders in the Premier League, right? And they're not in the famous clubs. So they're playing in the other clubs that like the Spurs and other likes of other clubs like this. And instead they bring on some old guys that come along who can't keep up with the pace. I'm sorry, but Maguire shouldn't have been in the England squad. I'm quite disappointed by that.
Maguire, how many games has he played? 4? Is it 4 games he's played this year?
A few others on that list, on that squad, who shouldn't be there.
A handful of games on.
It's a disgrace because Man United are the form team in the Premier League. Them, Newcastle and Arsenal, they're the form teams in the Premier League. But that's because they're not playing him. They're playing a different way. They're playing a different style of football.
Yeah.
They're not playing a Harry Maguire way.
Yeah. No. Well, like he's a liability. When anybody runs at Harry Maguire, he's stranded.
He's stranded. He's great for set pieces. Brilliant for set pieces.
He's actually better in the opponent's box than he is in his own box.
Yeah.
Contract players because his fitness level is not the same. There's a whole bunch of players I can name you from the Premier League that will be easily better than him tomorrow. So I
can name you 10. I can name you 10 centre backs in the Premier League better than him, easily. Yeah. I could probably name you 5 English centre backs better than him.
I think the biggest concern for the England team is defensively we've got the wrong players and we're going into big games and we're gonna be hit hard. And that's
the two best centre backs. The 2 best English centre backs are not even at the World Cup. Tomori and Tarkovsky, they're the 2 best English centre backs right now, and they're not at the World Cup. What's going on there?
Exactly.
They barely brought Ben White. Ben White was an afterthought. Ben White is unbelievable. I have no faith in Southgate. And it's great as an Irish person. It's absolutely fantastic. I hope he keeps the job for life because he's never going to win anything.
We'll stumble at the last hurdle like we have in the past.
Yeah.
Especially only one penalty kick away from winning.
People losing on penalties just makes me happy.
A tip for watching games: if you're watching your own game and you're a bit nervous, gin and tonic in your tea is very good.
In the morning,
it's a medicine for everything. It cures you of all things. Just
look at you drinking wine at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're like, what time did you start drinking at yesterday that you were still drinking at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Is that a trick question?
It's still 0-0, guys. On Australia.
Have Australia scored at your end, Dave, for that?
No, not yet. Have you got? We got early warning from James.
Yeah.
Early warning system.
That was a good goal.
Tunisia have had a couple of chances. They went very close just there a minute ago. But overall, they still haven't scored on my TV. But overall, you'd have to say Australia had the better of it. Couple of decisions probably should have went their way around the edge of the
Yeah,
box.
so coming
The
up
ball
here.
came
So,
in. Yeah, we just saw the. I just on my side. The crack of a
line
header.
from the Australian goalkeeper.
Oh, that's great header.
Oh, go!
It's a great header, but it's a great header, but the cross should have been dealt with. I think.
Yeah, there was a,
I think
there was a reflection on that one, but it just kind of landed perfectly on his head. And I'm not sure how much he knew about it today from the.
He had a lot to do with that header. It's a good header.
It wasn't easy to nod it into that corner because he had to twist his head and get his angle right. But he got the momentum when running in.
I don't see how he can be offside or anything, so I think it has to stand.
He's off.
Is he offside? No, he's fine.
Oh, well, the thing is, he didn't see it. That bounce was weird. He didn't see it coming. He had to change his direction. That goal was harder than you think.
Very well. He did very well for that header.
He did.
He reacted last minute. He just turned. See?
It is a good goal, yeah.
That's a good goal.
Okay, and interestingly, so the goal was scored by number 15, Mitchell Duke. So do you guys know which club he plays for?
No idea.
No idea.
He plays for Fagiano Okayama in the J League. Plays in Japan.
Oh, that's decent. J League's decent.
Yeah, so see how nice that goal was. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised to see him in England, perhaps, or Scotland in the near future.
Yeah.
United will be fishing for somebody new because we got rid of Ronaldo. Remember? So
we need a centre forward. We need Mitchell.
Duke's the man.
You need a centre midfielder. You need a winger.
Manchester.
Probably a goalkeeper.
His body is getting on a little bit.
Exactly.
And I suppose the other striker he really has is Patsy from Zambia.
Exactly. But I don't think Gunners need anybody. Your team is perfect at the moment.
We're grand. Yeah. We need somebody to cover in the midfield. We're fine otherwise. Maybe another striker. But I take a striker or a right winger and a midfielder in January. Like the midfielder has to be the one, just for cover. Because we have 4 or 5 players that'll play in the midfield, but we're top of the league. Are they players that will play at the top of the league? I don't know. It would be nice to have one more.
Team that improves.
Right, we have some comments from Yuan Yuan in our WeChat live stream. So at the moment, we've got about 1,650 viewers watching us live, and somebody says Paul should be downing a VB. So what is a VB?
I don't have any.
Now that Australia has scored. So Paul, what do you think of that?
That was a good goal. Need one more now.
Exactly. Downing a VB.
Yeah. I'm sort of watching the screen behind you, James, so I can actually see what's happening.
I tell you, Paul, we're going to have when this lockdown is over, we'll have to have a session on it in shots.
Oh, we'll have a massive party.
Yeah.
In honor of Australia's World Cup victory.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's only one World Cup victory against Tunisia.
Well, hopefully we'll be back. We'll be back up and running for the last 2 weeks of the Cup.
Well, yeah, you have another game now. You got another game. Right. So first things first, get this game over and done. Win this, and then next things next. You got Denmark.
Exactly.
Denmark are going to get beaten by France. You would imagine.
So then all you need is a draw
against Denmark. We might make it through.
That's the thing, like.
Yeah, I mean, in the sports lottery for tonight, I've gone for a 1-1 draw between France and Denmark. But
no.
I suppose my thinking behind it is there have been lots of results going against expectations, so I'm kind of applying a little bit of reverse psychology. That's all.
They have Giroud. Giroud can't stop scoring. Yeah. He's just going to score all the goals. He's like Giroud is just a magician. Like he's 36 years old and he's the best centre forward in the competition. Like how is that? He's going to score. He's going to score another 2 against Denmark, and they'll win 4-1 again. They'll go all the way to the semi-finals and then lose to England.
Yeah. Well, with England was very interesting. It is technically possible for them not to be qualified.
Oh yeah.
They lose.
For England.
4-0 by Wales. Okay.
Oh, you got to lose. Yeah. Not happening.
It's not happening, but because you can say more or less. But I really want the Americans to go through this time. They really deserve it. They played well.
No, never want the Americans to go through. I want Iran to go through. For all the huffing and puffing and whatnot that Iran did to actually come up and get the result that they got. I'm now an Iran fan because I know that Wales went down to 10 players and all, but it was as a result of absolute dominance by the Iranian team. They were just dominant.
Look, it could have been 1-0. It could have been 1-0 before that red card, easily.
Oh yeah, easy. Could have been 2-0.
Twice in the one passage of play.
And then the header that came back off the post. You know, the Hennessy just happened to be in the right place. Mm-hmm. You know, it was luck. It was pure luck that it was 0-0. And
yesterday's performance was heroic in how they recovered from losing so heavily against England, and they took a lot of stick for that defeat as well.
And you know, and another thing that we did when they were myself and Han were watching it here, and even before the first goal went in, I went, "That's a goal," and before the second goal went in, she went, "That's a goal," and it was. It was just. And what you're saying as well is absolutely on point, because they turned it around. They turned it around in that game and just was utter dominance.
Yeah, it was an amazing turnaround because I watched the England-Iran game and it's like they didn't even turn up to that game. Yeah, so I was expecting that Wales would absolutely crush them in that game, but no, I was very impressed with how well they played, and it really was Wales that kind of ended up trying to hang on to the game.
I think I might have lost you guys. Did I lose you guys? Are you still there?
Yeah, the streaming is a bit not so perfect, but yes.
Well, I've got Zach and Paul are moving well.
I'm moving.
Yeah, you're moving well. Now James is back.
So
we're all moving well.
Okay.
We got to get an Australian.
Yeah. It's got the TV behind me, and also kind of got a bit of a stiff neck from working at home at this desk all day. So you have to keep moving, otherwise it kind of gets a little bit sore.
Yeah. Myself and Han went down into the car park and started kicking balls earlier on, just get a bit of exercise, do something, get out of the house,
It has to be done.
The compound, and unexpectedly, I actually got invited by some of the neighbours to play a game of badminton with them. Yeah. Although it's always a bit tough because they always set up their courts outside, and we always have like a breeze going through. So that made it pretty difficult.
You do what you can. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this channel and see if we get it. What channel are you watching it on, Paul?
Go again?
What channel are you watching it on?
On that World Cup channel, the Astro.
Right, okay.
Yeah, again, I tend to find
that's about a minute behind.
The website has the quickest feed. So if there's a goal, I tend to know it here first.
Yeah.
Zach, what channel are you watching it on?
This is a HD HD2 on a special box, magic box. Yeah.
Magic box.
The magic box.
What minute of the game are you at?
I'm behind James, a wee bit behind James, but not that much. But
what was the time?
What's the time in your second?
At this moment, I'm seeing that there's a free kick just been given.
Yeah, but what's the time?
So we've got Yeah, so it'll be on the 33rd minute.
Yeah, 33rd.
Yeah,
32-45.
I'm
Okay.
almost at
32,
34.
42.
If they score, do you want me to tell you, or do we to keep it?
Yeah,
I will see it over your shoulder.
Yeah, fair enough. The delay is useful because we can see it and make commentary, so it's not
I
bad.
can see it behind you, James.
Yeah.
You can see it behind you. It's also fine. Okay, I do have a question for you guys because this today we got a new friend here as well. Just as we're all friends anyway, so we all know each other from the pub. What's your best memory of the World Cup? I'll start. That's my question, really. What's your the one that you really enjoyed the most, or that's it.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go for it. Go on. I'll have to go after you then. Go on.
So my best memory of the World Cup was when I was 11. I was 11, and I wasn't outside or anything. I was actually in my friend's house. My friend Tom Alexander, in my hometown, and we were watching Ireland playing Romania in the World Cup, and it was the first World Cup that Ireland had ever qualified for, and it was 0-0, and it went down to penalties, and so we ended up winning the penalties 5-4 with Dave O'Leary scoring the goal, and it's very hard to describe what happened in my hometown in the preceding 10 minutes. Like just immediately, the entire town just stopped. It was everybody was on the street, everybody was singing, everybody was dancing. There were people on the back of a truck driving up and down the street, beeping horns, flags flying, songs sung. It was a hell of a party atmosphere, and it just seemed it was very spontaneous as well, which it kind of made me realize how much people care about football.
Oh, that what you described there, the people on the back of the truck, that video, last I checked anyway, that video exists on YouTube.
Yeah, I know, and I'm in it shows them going over the railway bridge on the main street, and I'm actually in the vets upstairs looking out the window.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Me as an 11-year-old.
Yeah, but what you say is like that was Ireland's first World Cup, and it's such a special achievement to qualify for a World Cup, especially for a country who football, soccer is not their first sport. It's such a big thing, and that World Cup for Ireland was brilliant. It really was. It captured an imagination. It captured an audience and a brand new following for the Ireland team, and it got better and better from there. So, Zach, that will lead me to my fondest World Cup memory. 2002 World Cup, Ireland versus Germany. Germany went 1-0 up very early in that game. This is in the group stages. And Ireland, for the remaining 70, 80 minutes, chased and hounded Germany for an equaliser. And in stoppage time, I don't know if you remember, stoppage time, Robbie Keane pops up in the box and scored the equaliser. And he does this cartwheel, cartwheel celebration in front of the fans. Very, very special moment.
1-1. It was 1-0.
I was 13 that year, that World Cup.
To make it equal. Yeah, I think every Irish person knows that celebration. And it was frustration for so long, and then to just have it
pandemonium, absolute pandemonium. And unique fact at that World Cup, only 2 players scored a goal against Oliver Kahn, the German goalkeeper, Robbie Keane and Ronaldo.
There's no people there.
So what's he gonna do with it? He has to shoot.
Okay,
who's next?
Paul, have a go. Paul, what's your memory of the World Cup?
Oh, it'd have to be No actual moments, but actually that World Cup when Australia did so well and made it into like the quarterfinals.
2006, right? No.
Yeah, 206, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
like, I mean, I'd never really got into soccer before, but I was getting out of bed at like 4 a.m. and watching the games, and I was actually loving it. But they did so well. It's when they had Harry Cool and Paducah and all those guys playing.
Yeah.
That team was ace. That's just like one of the best teams.
They were playing out of their skins. It was unbelievable. No one expected them to do that well.
I mean, that's
Who
the
won
thing.
2006? Was it Spain?
Go on.
What's that?
Say again, Owen?
Who won it in 2006? Was it Spain?
Italy actually ended up winning.
Italy. Yeah. That was the headbutt final. Yeah.
Is James back?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can. So,
cool.
we're talking about memories of the World Cup, and the three of us all gave.
Yeah, I mean, I do have lots of memories. I mean, what's kind of interesting for me is I've watched all of the different finals in many different locations. I mean, I suppose like the first final I ever like seriously watched was the '98 one in Paris between France and Brazil, and I remember watching that at one of these holiday camps in Weymouth, Dorset on the English south coast. Okay, and that was like a strange final because Ronaldo is still kind of a mystery what happened to him, isn't it? People say that he had some kind of fit or seizure in the dressing room just before the game, and maybe that's kind of put Brazil off their stride. And then to everybody's surprise, France beat them quite comfortably, 3-0. Then I remember like 2002, I happened to watch the World Cup actually on a cruise boat on the Nile. Yeah, probably somewhere between like Luxor and Aswan. And it was like one of these like very grainy like Egyptian TVs with these tacky aerials like sticking out. So it was kind of like difficult to watch, a lot of cackle. But I did manage. I think Brazil beat Germany 2-0, if I remember correctly, in that year. 2006, I remember watched that in Beijing. 2010. Watched that final in a bar in Busan, South Korea. Yeah, and then 2014 with Zach at my place, 2 or 3 in the morning. Yeah, so if it came down to a particular match, it might be the ones that had a lot of tension.
Yeah.
And I mean, I always tell people that in 1998. Yeah, I mean, I always say that in 1998. Again, England had like a really good, a fairly good team that year, and I was quite confident in it. So again, kind of like disappointed to see them lose in another penalty shootout to Argentina. So even though maybe it wasn't the greatest result for us, it's just kind of like high tension games like that stick out a lot in my memory.
Well, the one that caused a lot of I was in London with my uncle's place, and it was the Germany versus England 1990. We sat at his place, and we all come around the sofa to watch it. And it was a nail bite with a 1-1 and then he went on to penalties, and then it was a solid performance. A couple of misses here, but the emotion of losing to Germany, that was just so distraught. That keeps to my mind now. That team was really decent because they had Beardsley in there from Liverpool and some other players in there. Gaza's a character. It was like not just a football player, but he was funny, and he was like he brought a different dynamic to the team. We never saw any player like that afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, he's a real character, and I would have loved to have seen that scene when apparently Glenn Hoddle told him he wasn't going to the 1998 Cup. Yeah, whose memoirs was it? Glenn Hoddle. He went completely mental and started smashing the hotel up and all that. That would have been like. Yeah.
You know what? If they had brought him in 1998, they wouldn't have had Paul Ince playing at number 10, and they might have had a better chance against Argentina. I think Glenn Hoddle was wrong not to bring him. I think he was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it would have brought a lot of creativity, a bit of, je ne sais quoi or something to their lineup.
He played Paul Ince as number 10, and that's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. He's a defensive midfielder, playing him as a creative midfielder.
Well, that's why he missed he missed a penalty, didn't he, Paul Ince? One of them missed a penalty.
Batty missed a penalty. Batty missed a penalty. And who else? Was it Southgate?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Southgate missed in one of them.
In the Euro 96.
Euro 96.
Yeah, Batty missed the penalty in 98.
Was there another one? There was 2 missed, weren't there? Was there?
Not sure.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of penalty shootouts. I think there was another one to Portugal. Exactly. I can't remember which year there was. Must have been 2004.
Oh, Beckham skied the ball over the bar.
The other. That's right. Beckham skied that. And that Sheffield Wednesday lad skied it as well one time.
Yeah, I remember Lampard missed another one against Portugal, didn't he? Was that maybe 2010? Yeah. Or something at the World Cup.
Pierce in 1990.
Yeah. Exactly. Well,
and then they all got a Pizza Hut ad.
Come on, I should have finished that.
那我们还是吹布一下，我们给我们中国的观众总结一下我们刚才说的一些言论。我们刚才分享我们对过去就是对历届世界杯的一些感想。然后我逐一去概括一下吧。Owen，可能他记忆最犹新的就是爱尔兰这第一次参加世界杯。他那时候还在他的老家，然后可能他记忆犹深的，也特别是很多当地的爱尔兰人，他们就说，国家队参加比赛的时候，有很多就说同胞，很多其他的爱尔兰人，他们就上街。然后就是从那时候起，他真的体会到了，就说人们对足球的一种热情啊。后来是保罗，他就记得澳洲是以前大概在98年的样子吧，这澳大利亚他们有一次参加世界杯，然后他们的表现特别的好。可能虽然他们总体可能是。如果直接论成绩，可能也不是特别的理想，但是他们遇到了很多的强队，然后就是记得，有一次澳大利亚他们针对了意大利，然后他们基本上坚持到了第90分钟，但是最后还是被意大利绝杀了，然后他为这个事情也感到比较的伤心。除了这个之外，还有 Zack 呢，这 Zack 也刚才在说了，可能我们亲眼就说看到的，或者我们看电视第一收看的一届世界杯，就是1990年，90年是世界杯是在意大利举行的，然后那一次英格兰的表现也特别的好，他们进了半决赛的时候，他们针对的就是就是德国西德国，因为那时候这个柏林墙还没有倒下来，所以德国还是分为东德国还有西德国。但是不幸的是，我们进行点球赛的时候，英格兰又遭到淘汰了。然后他就记得那时候，他和其他的朋友感到特别的伤心。如果我再说一下自己的情况，我觉得自己看世界杯的一个特点就是我基本上是每一届世界杯的决赛，我就在不同的国家收看。我记得98年，巴西阵队，法国那一届，我就是在英格兰，南海岸的一个小镇看了，就是一个叫威茅斯的一个地方。02年的世界杯，我当时就在埃及那个尼罗河一个游船上面，然后我就是说，那时候他们有一个很破烂的电视机，然后我们看的全是杂音啊，画面也不是很清楚。06年我是在北京看的，10年我是在韩国那个釜山看的，一家酒吧里面。这是从2014年以来，我每一次都在重庆看。所以如果是我们的观众有更多有关 历届世界杯的一些感想，也欢迎在我们的评论区里面给我们留下来。我们希望可以跟我们的观众进行更多的互动。
Tunisia should have scored, guys.
Should be 2-1.
Missed by that much.
Should be 2-1.
They should
No.
have 2 goals, yeah. Easily, they could have at least 2, if not
That should-
1.
That was
Like, Australia have had more of the ball, but
Yeah, they responded very well.
Well, let's just hope they keep missing.
Here we go again.
Okay, so we're up to the 49th minute, 5 minutes of extra time. So I think if this attack breaks down, then it looks like they're going to be going into the half-time break at 1-0 to Australia.
yeah, you're a full minute in front of me.
Yeah. There's a full
Yeah, I've still got.
Yeah, so right now we're at 49 minutes, 20 seconds.
Do you have any ideas on? I mean, this game's not bad with extra time, 5 minutes added on. The first set of games like 10 minutes added on. So
Yeah,
it's
Brilliant.
it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Brilliant.
But
Absolutely brilliant.
Go
I
ahead.
think
It's been added on for like all the pushing and shoving in the boxes and all that kind of stuff as well.
100%. It tells the players that, look, I know
Stop
it's
missing.
a World Cup and all, but cop on, play the game.
I mean, they could have the
Yes,
time wasting.
David, it's very good of it from the point of view of time wasting. Because now, if the goalkeeper picks it up, he doesn't wait that long before he boots it back out. So obviously they're looking forward to their half-time breaks.
And we've had a couple of cards for a couple of yellow cards for time wasting as well, which is good. And we've had a lot of time added on when it's needed to be added on. So I'm very happy that the refs have taken a fairly strong stance this World Cup. I've been actually kind of impressed by the refereeing. I would like it if the VAR was a little bit more because in the Premier League they tell the commentators about the VAR decisions.
Yeah.
It seems like the commentators don't have a clue what's going on with the VAR. Which it would be nice if there was a communication line opened up between the VAR office and maybe the guys commentating, so that we'd be able to know exactly when a check took place and when it didn't. I think people are frustrated by not
That
knowing.
doesn't exist. So how does the referee know if there's a decision that needs to be made or he needs to look at on the monitor?
Oh no. So in the World Cup, what's happening? It's often a testing ground for
New technology.
new regulations as well. Like the back pass rule was brought out in the World Cup, brought out for the World Cup. What they're doing is they have four VARs. So they have one referee who is a VAR referee, and they have he has 3 assistants in the VAR room. So there are actually 5 referees at this game, right? Yeah. And what happens is the guy on the pitch is told, keep the game going, keep the game moving, because we have enough people to check everything. And they are checking everything. But it just seems like when there's a contentious decision, particularly the British commentators, they're used to the referee going, wait, hold on, I'm going to check this. And that's not happening. So the game isn't stopping at all. Yeah. And we're kind of going, well, what are the VAR doing?
Well, yesterday's game, who was it, between Iran and Wales, was it? There was a classic example of that where one of the players was pushed in the box. No, sorry, it was Senegal and Qatar. Not Wales.
Watch that.
Senegal and Qatar, and Koulibaly, the Senegalese captain, absolutely shoved the Qatari player in the back. It was a blatant penalty.
100%.
They asked the referee, check VAR, but the referee said no, and he waved the play on.
And I saw, like,
bizarre that he didn't go to VAR for that.
Anyone that's played football knows what anyone that's played football has seen it happen that the striker gets in front of the centre back and then slows down because the contact coming, right?
Yeah, he knows. Yeah,
But it's still a foul. The reason why you do that is because it's a foul.
yeah.
You know, like if it wasn't a foul, you wouldn't do it.
The main thing is, like, the main point is that what you're saying, VAR was not used in that instance.
Well, was it or wasn't it? I don't know. It probably was.
We're not.
It probably was, but nobody was told.
The referee wasn't told. Well, he wasn't told to go and check.
Exactly. Yeah. So the guys in the office, they've said, "Oh, this is a coming together," but it doesn't warrant another look.
Yeah.
Which that decision itself was bizarre. It was bizarre.
Yeah, it made no sense. Absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, because like I give that penalty every day, and you give that penalty every day, and you want that penalty every day. Like, that's a penalty. And if you're a defender, you've given a penalty away. You know you have. Like, the defender knows it's a penalty, the striker knows it's a penalty, everybody watching knows it's a penalty. Okay, the referee maybe didn't see it, but that's what VAR is for, and it didn't do its job.
Yeah, I mean, the current ref in this game, if you guys recall your memory against in the Champions League, AC Milan versus Chelsea, they won 2-0.
Yeah.
He's the same ref as today's ref. And then with the red card, and then it favored Chelsea. They came out with two goals. So we met him before. If you watch the Champions League,
he wasn't great in the Champions League final. I'm going to be honest with you. He didn't cover himself in. He didn't have a very good game in the Champions League final. It was a fair result, but
yes, I remember a lot of yellow cards. One red and lots of yellow cards. I can't remember the number.
Yeah.
It wasn't. But this game, I mean, in the first game, he's not dishing out that many yellow cards. So it looks like the ref's keeping the flow. I think
it looks like he's keeping the flow, but he missed a couple of frees that probably should have went to Australia around the edges of the box. But he's being consistent, so you can like, that's all you want, really. You just want a consistent ref. You want, if it's not a free for one team, it's not a free for the other team, and you can at least say that, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose when it comes to VAR, I mean, I think it's a great idea to have, technology involved, improve the accuracy of decisions. But for me, like, the frustrating thing has been really twofold. One is like the delay case that comes with it. So, in the past, even if a referee made a wrong decision, at least the decision is made and the game goes on, straight away, unless the players have a big scrap over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one as well, that sometimes, bizarrely, you might get the situation where the referee runs across the field, takes a look at the television set and still makes an incorrect decision.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people on the, watching it on their TVs at home can clearly see it for themselves. So, of course, in situations like that, the VAR hasn't really made a big difference. But actually, a thought that I've had for quite a while has been, I know, like, Zach, likes watching squash as well, but, I'm a big fan of, watching squash, say, on the PSA channel. And if you watch that, they also have a video assistant referee. And I think for each game, as long as it doesn't go into a tie break, then each player has one appeal. So if they disagree with a decision, then it goes to the video assistant referee. And it's actually like a different referee. So the referee who made the original decision then kind of takes a back seat. And then it's a team of 3 referees watching the videos, and they kind of vote. And whoever kind of gets the most unanimous decision now kind of becomes becomes the final result. So I think that's maybe a good idea. So, like, if they applied that in football, that might work a little bit better, and also stop delays to the game. So, for example, if the team suspects a goal is offside, then maybe the captain could make an appeal to the referee, and then he kind of defers it. to a team of assistant referees who have the replays available, and maybe they have to like make a decision within 20 seconds or 30 seconds, and if they can't come up with a decision, then maybe the original one will stand. So I think if they did something like that, and also if they had like a limit on the amount of appeals they had, so maybe like one team could maybe have could appeal one decision per half of a game or something like that. I think if they kind of incorporated elements from VAR experience in squash, then maybe that could help some of the problems they're having at the moment.
Yeah, there's VAR in a lot of sports, and they all seem to do it better than football. They all seem to do it better than soccer. Like the VAR in cricket is fantastic.
Tennis as well.
Well, the rugby VAR is very efficient, and
rugby VAR is efficient. Yeah, rugby VAR is efficient. The football VAR is efficient. But it just because it's
the cricket's got better too.
What?
The cricket's got better.
Yeah, big time, and I like the way. I do like the idea of having an appeal, but in a soccer game, who do you appeal to? Do you appeal to the referee or to the VAR, or do you have a fourth referee who just happens to be mates with the other two referees?
Yeah, I mean, I think like in squash, where I think they have a panel of 3 video assistant referees. So that means it's either going to the original decision is either going to stand or it's going to get overturned. But I think as in squash, maybe if the captain or a player appeals to the referee and then he defers it to an expert panel, to a video panel, then I think that could potentially work.
Could do. It really could. But to be honest, I think that overall the level of refereeing has improved particularly in the Premier League over the last year. I'd only give it 12 months that it's improved. And it was terrible before that. It was actually really bad, but it is improving, and I do like that they're trying different things with VAR. They're presenting it in different ways, and they're eventually they'll figure out what works. Eventually they'll figure out what works. In this World Cup, with the silence and the continuation of play, I kind of like it. I just would like I would like them to be able to communicate with the commentators what's going on. I heard a story about a guy was telling me about watching football in Brazil, and he told me that the VAR in the Premier League in Brazil, after the game, they call up the broadcaster and they explain the decisions. They go through the decisions that were made in that game and explain them all, which was cool. That'd be an idea.
Yeah, but I definitely think you're right when the refereeing things have gone up. And actually, the way I see it, I think people always say, they said to me in the past, you can tell a referee did a good job if you forget the referee's there. It's kind of like the more you pay attention to the referee, then normally the worse the decisions are. And I kind of feel a bit like that way with all the games I've seen before.
But you forget the referee. There's a couple of things to that. You forget the referee is there if he makes the right decisions, and if the teams are playing fairly. Because
of course, if you get lots of dirty tackles, cheating and things like that, then of course, the referee's going to play a more prominent role.
Yeah, there's Senegal in behind you. That's a great goal. It's a great goal. The goal behind you there, James, is a fantastic goal. Ja was his name. Ja. I really liked it. I really enjoyed watching Senegal yesterday. I thought they were a big, strong, athletic team that could actually play football. The guy, what's his name? Jojo. He was very good.
They're a lively team.
Yeah.
As you said, yeah, very, very athletic. They play with speed as well. Like they get the ball forward very quickly. They were more than a handful for the Netherlands as well.
Oh, nice goal.
I thought the Netherlands got lucky in that game. What it took was one moment of quality from De Jong's ball into Gakpo.
Yeah.
And the second one was against the run of play.
It's exactly what he did. It's exactly what he did against Arsenal. De Jong's ball.
I think 2-0 flattered the Dutch in that game.
So do I.
I don't think there was too much between Senegal and Netherlands.
Yeah. And I haven't seen Simmons yet. I really want to see Simmons. Like, he's just such an exciting young player. I just want to see. Right now, the Netherlands, they seem kind of lethargic. They seem just going like they're going through the motions. There's no one exciting on the team.
Yeah, they're not as. They don't have the attackers of old. Quite that quality.
If this young lad Simmons gets a game, you'll see what I mean. He destroyed Arsenal. For PSV against Arsenal, he destroyed us.
Yeah, he's a good player, and he scored again yesterday, right?
Who's Simmons? Did he?
No, sorry. I thought he was Gakpo at PSV.
Yeah, Gakpo plays for PSV as well. Yeah, he scored again yesterday, but Simmons hasn't really played. He's only a kid. You'll see him. He's little blonde dreadlocks on him. Like that wrong sort of dreadlocks.
Okay, so the teams are back out on the pitch. We've got a substitution. So Draga, number 20, has gone off for Tunisia, replaced by number 13, Sussy. But I have to say, I'm not that familiar with either of these two players.
And I'm falling on into the middle. You have to reward my energy. You have to reward my effort. And there's nothing I can do if you don't beat that first man. Once you get it in here, then I can challenge. I can move on.
We're underway.
我也给我们的观众总结我们刚才在讨论的一些话题。我们花了好几分钟的时间讨论一个比较新的一个科技的一个进展吧。因为前几年英格兰的，不是英国那边还有一些其他的欧洲国家，他们引进了一个新的一种技术，这个就叫视频助理裁判。这前就不存在这样的，就说裁判就说怎么决定，所有的就是两队，所有队员都必须接受。现在如果有一个决定存在疑问的话，这有一个所谓的这个视频助理裁判。但是可能在实行这方面上，也发生一些小问题啊。一个就是速度啊，就是有时候如果要判决一个点球啊，或者一个红牌是不是有效？可能我们等裁判这跑到边上看，就是说再看一下这个重播，再进行决定，可能会给比赛就是说耽误两三分钟，可能所以他们做决定的这个速度也比较慢，有时候可能也是由于这个时间的压力啊，可能裁判在看这个技术的时候，可能同样也会做出一个错误的一个判决。所以呢，在我们讨论的一些优化，可能他们怎么进行优化的一些方法。然后我和 Zack 也在讨论，我觉得他们可以借鉴一些其他的体育项目啊，比如说英式板球、壁球、网球。这几项一个运动，因为他们多年来早就在利用这种新的技术，然后他们的效果也特别好，这是我们做出的一个推荐，也是有点像壁球一样的，如果 一队的队长对一个判决存在疑问，他要提出疑问的话，或者提出异议，我们也推荐如果有是我们推荐可能有一个裁判团队，可能他们可以就是看他们的电视重播，然后他们可以一个投票的一个方式，他们看完了视频，他们审核了视频之后，可能他们就在20-30秒之内的一个时间里面，可能做出一个决定，做了决定之后，原来的判决要么坚持有效，还是也可以说颠翻。所以呢，我们也希望以后足球这项体育项目也会推出，比如说也会实行一些类似的优化方法。
Are you sure? I'm going to have a chocolate chip cookie. If you don't want a chocolate chip cookie, I'll have a chocolate chip cookie. Would you like a chocolate chip cookie?
I'd love
one, mate.
No butter, drop over.
Okay,
So who's your pick for the World Cup? Who's going to win it? What do you
question.
think?
Good question.
We've seen all the teams play now at least once.
Okay. Please talk about Spain. And I'm thinking Spain might just be the one because they're not making the limelight yet, but they did put a mark up by playing very aggressively and defensively very strong. Possession football, the goal. So I do think Spanish sides.
You're right, and often it might be the case that their teams going under the radar will progress quite far into the tournament, kind of like how Italy won the Euro 2020s. So I think that's a distinct possibility.
That's true.
I would say that although Argentina had that shocker in their first group match, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of make a comeback today and then maybe progress quite far into the group.
Yeah, there's no
Because I
reason.
remember once with a Copa America, one that Brazil won. I can't remember which year it was, but Brazil had a shocker. They lost to Mexico in the first game, and everybody was very pessimistic about them. But they kind of turned it around, and they made it to the final, and they actually beat Mexico again, who also made it to the final. So of course, I don't expect Saudi Arabia to make it that far, but I wouldn't be surprised if Argentina make it far in the tournament.
There's no reason why Argentina can't win their 2 remaining games, and I think if they win their 2 games, they'll still finish top of that group.
Yeah,
because I don't see Saudi Arabia.
Poland.
I don't see Saudi Arabia getting more than 3 points against.
So here's what I think about Argentina. Argentina will need to realize that they can't give up goals the way they did. So the next 2 games, you're going to see them defend a whole hell of a lot better. And they'll probably win both of those games 1-0. And they'll go into the
centre. Their best centre half. Their best centre half is on the bench. Martinez.
As long as he's playing the little guys. But in saying that, Martinez, right? If they do play Martinez is a quality player. But there are games where he's a problem. There are games where he's a problem. Now, are they going to happen in this World Cup? Maybe not.
It depends who he's up against. If he's up against a forward who likes to hassle him, that's when he's under pressure. That's when he might not do very well. But
and I don't see many forwards like that.
No,
I don't see many forwards like that.
That's the thing. And you can say Lewandowski at Poland, but I don't think he's that type of player. Mexico don't have anyone off the top of my head. So I think Argentina, they have to shake up things. They got to change their team a little bit, make a few tweaks.
And I think Martinez would be an obvious one. I think Martinez would be an obvious one.
After the 2 goals they conceded against Saudi Arabia, absolutely, absolutely, because they're okay everywhere else.
Yeah, and it's Argentina. They get to do that. They're not saying that whoever they drop it isn't going to get another chance, because they might. You know.
Yeah. So Owen, off the top of your head, who's winning the World Cup?
I can't say it.
Fafita Lione. So France versus Saudi Arabia will play in the finals. So yeah, do keep those comments coming for our audience. Yeah, would you like to go? Chances of that.
I said earlier, it's for me. It's between 3. For me, it's between 3. It's between England, Brazil, and France, because I think that this World Cup is going to be decided by a group of forwards. It's going to be a group of forwards, and I think France are there because their forward play is slightly different to the other teams, because they have a target man, because they have a one big man, but he's not necessarily a hassler, but he is a guy that's going to hold the ball up, and I'm not sure that many teams will be used to defending that guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy that would give Martinez trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose for me, I mean, if I had to give, my 3 favourites probably be England, Argentina, and Brazil. Yeah, I mean, I think France
England's
will do
my
well,
favourite.
but I don't know, maybe over the long run, because you have to win like 7 games or prevail in 7 straight games.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not straight games, but you play 7 games and you have to make it through to the final. I just kind of got the feeling that without Mbappe and Benzema, they might just come up short.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that gets me about England, right? The last World Cup, they got through to the semi-finals. Lucky, okay, they were lucky, right? But then in the European Championships, they had that team, the semi-final of the World Cup, and they improved it. They made it better, and then they went through to the final of that. And then they took that team and they've made it better again, which is not
this time on.
It's not something that a lot of national teams have done. Like most national teams are in or around the level that they were, but England have improved, markedly improved. But they still have Gareth Southgate. I think that England have the best team, but I think Gareth Southgate will lose it for them. I hope Gareth Southgate will lose it for them. I really hope Gareth Southgate will lose it. I think they deserve to win it, but I want them to lose it.
Well, England, for me, have always been their own worst enemy at major tournaments.
Yeah.
Style of play or the players themselves.
I wouldn't be surprised to see England maybe just bottle it on a penalty shootout in the final. So what I've done is, again with the sports lottery, I put a little wager that Argentina will be the champion. Oh, actually, I did 2. I did one with Argentina, the champion, England the runner-up, and another one with Brazil, the champion, and England the runner-up. So that way, if we make it through to the final and we still lose, at least I'm going to have a little bit of what's the word for it?
But James, here's one for you as well, and that the England are capable of doing this. England should have beaten America. They should have. And the fact that they didn't might be where Gareth Southgate loses it. Because they should have done it. And now they're going into a game against Wales. And Wales love fighting the English. They love putting the big boys up against the big boys. They love playing a high ball, winning the first ball. Second one's a tough challenge. First ball, hit him. First ball, hit him. First ball, hit him. And that's what the game is going to be. The England-Wales game is going to be fire and brimstone and just sheer anger. Just guys waiting for the ball to bounce and just... England might not win that game.
Yeah, I think it have a little
England don't
look
have to win
into
that
their
game.
head-to-head record.
They don't have to win that game. But that is the truth. They don't have to win that
They
game.
need to draw the game at least. That's it, and they're through. But it might benefit them if they did draw because they won't be top seed going against somebody else in the next round.
Yeah.
Going first to second, you can choose then.
Yeah. And that's another thing as well. And that might be worth something. That might be worth something.
You've got to assess who's England going to play next if they get top seed of their group.
Yeah. Because you might see the subs coming out in the next game. They might play the subs in the next game just to get whoever comes out of the other pot.
Because Southgate's good at parking the bus, and he's already did it in the last game.
Yeah.
He might do the same.
Yeah, well, it gives them the choice, doesn't it? Whereas if you win that game, you're the group winner.
Yeah,
You know?
and then you're at the mercy of the whichever.
But it's a dangerous game. That's a dangerous thing to do. You can't go out into a game and not look to win it. That's a madness. That's an insanity.
If they come second in their group, they're going to play
But, I mean,
in the next round.
But I suppose if you look at the game in terms of head-to-head record, which of course isn't always directly relevant, but England in international football have beaten Wales on 68 occasions, drawn 21, lost 14. The last time they lost to Wales, I can tell you now, was an away game on the 2nd of May 1984. And this was called the British Home Championship. So
I
should have heard of that. Maybe that's kind of a bit like the Five Nations.
This is their first World Cup for 62 years. This is their first World Cup for 62 years.
Yeah.
They get to come out of this. If Wales get nothing out of this next game, they go home and they hang their heads in shame.
Well,
if they put it up,
Eric,
they go home like heroes, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, I mean, England are on a 6-match winning streak at the moment.
You mentioned which team do we play if England goes top?
From that perspective.
If
England win,
who do you play if you go top of the league?
If you top the group, it's likely you play Ecuador or Senegal. And if you come second, it's likely to be the Netherlands. Because the Netherlands have to play Qatar, and they're going to beat Qatar.
Let's be honest.
That's going to be enough to top the group.
I played Netherlands. No, Senegal. Senegal looks more interesting to play.
The thing is, you can as easily beat the Netherlands, I think, as you can Senegal or Ecuador. I don't see much of a difference between the three of those teams.
That's the truth.
The big obstacle is likely Argentina or more likely France in the quarterfinal.
Yeah,
that's the test. That's the real test. That's when.
So how do they? But if they come second in the group, they could put France off until the semi, can't they?
Yeah, that's the point. You've got to avoid France.
Probably even the final one. I don't think they're going to France at all.
No.
They'd probably be looking at maybe Brazil, Spain in the semi-final.
So they're on the one side of the draw. France are on the one side of the draw, aren't they?
Yeah, for the first. Well, I imagine for the first couple of rounds, but they'd have to play whoever's in groups E to H in the semi-finals.
So it looks like if we play,
I don't know. Let's see.
But if they play a defensive team, put a few of the young lads up against the Welsh and slow the pace down, we might get an easy ride to the quarters. Assuming we play better in the second latter of the games, round 2, round 3.
Well, there's only one way you win that game. Only one way you win that game. You can score early.
You might get Ecuador in the second round and Saudi Arabia in the quarterfinals. That could happen. The way things are going, that could happen.
That could happen. But the thing
that's
is,
an easy route to the semis.
But play against Saudis is like a home match for the Saudis in that place.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the noise level just went up next. The next a notch a bit on the volume. So none of them really. None of the European sides to get that volume they play in this tournament at this moment, except for Brazil.
See, they went back on the One Love thing, the One Love armband. They allowed it to be worn now.
Two players replaced.
Yeah, Zach, Brazil and Argentina, they will always have the following no matter where they are around the world. Because of Messi, because of Neymar, just because of their
Maradona.
success, their reputation, you know, they're football mad countries. They're loved everywhere.
No, I agree with that. I mean, that's the thing about this World Cup so far. Some of it, I mean, I've got my thing muted now, but watching the game, certain clubs are getting, you know, a big fan support, shouting, chanting, whatever they're doing, you know. But yeah, it's a different vibe, I think, in some sort of. But I think when the final comes along, it's going to be interesting to see. You're right; it's going to be European, one of the European sides, going to, or possibly against Brazilian, or.
So what happens here in this group? What happens here in this group if it stays like this?
It's Australia on 4 points, and Tunisia 1, Denmark 1, France 3, and France and Denmark still have to play.
And they have to play this evening. They have to play tonight, yeah?
So if France beat Denmark, France qualify.
So France beat Denmark, they qualify. They're the first team through, are they? I think so.
They will be, yeah. They will be first team through, yeah.
So France, and then that's Denmark need to win the next game to have a chance.
Denmark will have to beat Australia.
Denmark has to beat Australia. And if they beat Australia, then they have 4 points and they're level with. Yeah. And then Tunisia are never going to beat France. So Australia second, basically. Australia are looking at second place, right? If they can beat. If they can beat.
Sorry, I'm wrong. Owen, I'm wrong. Australia lost, so they'll have 3 points.
Yeah.
With the same principle, all they need to do is avoid defeat against Denmark.
So what they're looking at is second place at best.
Australia,
I think realistically, unless.
So what does the second place in that group get them in the last 16?
It gets them the winner of Argentina's group.
And Argentina is in a group with
Mexico, Poland,
and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So it's
so second place gets the winner of that, which is.
I still think it's going to be Argentina. I think Argentina will beat Poland and beat Mexico and get 6 points and win the group. I don't see Saudi Arabia getting more than 6 points in that group.
Yeah, and it does look a little bit like Lewandowski
could get 6 points.
Scoring World Cups as well.
But they could get 6 points. Saudi Arabia could get 6 points.
They could, and then come to goal difference. Yeah, it's possible.
It goes head to head. It goes head to head, and then that Saudi Arabia wins the group.
It doesn't anymore. I thought it was, but it's not anymore.
It's not also exchange.
Everyone's appealing for a possible handball to Tunisia, but it looks like it's not getting referred to VAR.
No, it's kind of he wrestled him down first, and then.
So Australia, Argentina, Australia get the hard draw again, even if they do get through. Oh, sucks to be Australia.
Oh.
Sucks.
Sucks to be a Socceroo.
Second position doesn't help in that case, clearly.
Like they're not going to get Saudi Arabia. Like if they could get Saudi Arabia, it'd say, quarterfinals.
But look, at the same time, last 16 for Australia, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's more probably than they would have expected.
That's a VAR check.
It's a VAR check, yes, right.
That's a VAR check, and it's like, ooh, he's got to stop here, I say. No. He's letting go. They're playing on.
Looking a lot brighter in the second half, but like this move that you're going to see in about a minute. There's some really good build-up play, but they seem to be lacking a lot with that final ball, which I think could maybe pay for them at the end.
I really want to see that challenge again because it looked penalty. Penalty.
My first impression at that very moment was that maybe it was a handball, but I don't understand. They didn't check it on VAR.
Yeah, they keep the game going, and then let the VAR do the VAR. But what we get instead is this match keeps going on, and I want to see that again. So which way is the best way to watch football? That's what FIFA has to decide. Is it better to pause? Is it better to stop the game and let people see a replay?
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose in this situation,
where does it all end, though? You know what? The game's going to go for 4 hours like American football.
That's the thing. Yeah. Exactly. So you just got to be, man, that's a penalty, man. Loads of people shouting in the pub.
That's right.
That's what it is. And they're like, when you see it again, when you see it again. And then by the time they show it again, everybody's forgotten about it.
They made another substitution, right? And number 18 came on.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it doing it this way. I really am, because I wasn't a great fan of the idea of VAR in the first place. I'm kind of coming around to it, but if they do it like this, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It's just like watching football in 10 years ago. It's what it is.
Well, it's
not
like
even 10 years ago. Like watching football 4 years ago.
It keeps the game moving, keeps it flowing.
Yeah.
I think they nailed it right. You've got a couple of refs on the back quickly making decisions while the main ref is carrying on with the game.
And the other thing that it'll make people do is it'll make people learn the rules. It'll make them learn the rules, because they're sitting there going, "Why wasn't that? That's a penalty?" You're like, "No, it's not a penalty." You go, "Well, why isn't it a penalty?" And you go, "Well, it's not a penalty because of this." And then you see the referee will either give it or he won't. You'll either be right or wrong.
We watched a lot of Aussie rule football over the summer with our play. And one thing I learned at Aussie rules is the referees were really technical online, on point. And it was never like, it was A or B. It's like, no, that's it.
Yeah, a couple of times, a couple of decisions didn't go your way. Like you went, and you were kind of questioning a couple of decisions. But it seemed mostly everyone knew what was going on.
Exactly.
Everyone knew what was going on 99% of the time.
I completely agree with that. I mean, it's a different kind of culture of getting used to that kind of.
So this way of doing the VAR and putting on the extra time for time wasting, Infantino has done a good. He's done a good thing. It's Arsene Wenger actually this is Arsene Wenger's idea. He is the technical director of FIFA, so he was the one who decided what form the VAR would take in this World Cup. Yeah. So if you have a problem with the VAR in this World Cup, blame Arsene Wenger.
Fair enough. We'll blame the Gunners for that then. All right, fair enough.
Yeah, blame the Gunners for him. Yeah.
What about right?
Wenger's team made a lot of grief for United over the years.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's it.
What about Arsene Wenger's other idea of playing a World Cup every 2 years? Thoughts? Does it for me like it undoes the prestige of having the World Cup?
Oh, fuck!
Come on!
Because World Cup, let's face it, is a prestigious event every 4 years.
I didn't miss that one. Oh, Jesus.
Bobby, he should have threw something longer at that. That's right. He should have threw something longer at that. He was an inch away from the goal.
I mean, I'm going to give credit to Australia. They've kept the ball. They play like a professional club team. Really have. Yeah. They don't need to play as long as they win the game. That's what matters.
But a World Cup every 2 years. I wouldn't mind.
No.
I don't care. Because to be honest, right now it's only for the big guys. It's only for the big guys. It's only for France and Germany and Italy and all that. I want there to be a shock. I like these boys get paid a lot of money to play football. If you get rid of the Intertoto Cup and put another World Cup on, I'd be all for it.
Would you get rid of the European Championship zone?
Yeah, do that.
Matt Ryan's
I
killing it.
remember Sepp Blatter, didn't he say in the past that the only reason it's every 4 years is that back in the 1930s, when they had the first World Cup in Uruguay, a lot of the teams are kind of travelling to the host country by ship and things like that, air travel.
Oh, you want to hear how the Uruguay team survived in Italy? Did you ever hear that?
No, I didn't hear that story.
How they survived?
Yeah, how they survived. They had everything robbed. They survived by. They were in Europe for like a month or two. This is for the Olympics, in fact, in 1924, and they went around playing local clubs and charging in at the door and that's how they made money to actually go to the Olympics, to actually go there and get back.
Wow.
And then they went on and they after playing all the local clubs all over Italy, they went to the Olympics final and they won it. And everybody in Italy knew them. Everybody knew them. Like they just knew them. I think it was So that's why Uruguay was so loved.
I was reading about you should check out the 1938 World Cup in France. A lot of interesting things happened. So the first one was, now we know the political circumstances of what was happening in the world in 1938. So first thing you had was Austria qualified.
Yeah.
But of course, Germany came in, the Nazis came in, and the
Anschluss, and they took it. Yeah.
Austria didn't go. The second thing happened was Uruguay and Argentina refused to compete because they didn't like the fact that another World Cup was going to be in Europe for the second consecutive time. They wanted it back to South America again. So they just didn't bother. And then you had two very unusual teams that actually played in the World Cup that have never qualified since. One was the Indonesia. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Indonesia, what was Indonesia's former name?
Dutch East Indies.
Yes, the Dutch East Indies.
Sorry, weird name.
They played Hungary in the first game.
The spice trades,
And then Cuba qualified made it to the quarterfinals.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, Italy won that one. The Italians won that one.
Italy won in 38. Yeah. Italy won
the Italians won that one. Okay. That's the most interesting thing with that World Cup. But you're right. Yeah, the East Dutch East Indies. Okay. Since then, the Indonesians never came back into the World Cup fold because I'm not sure really. They never had a domestic league that well developed.
They were the first Asian team to play the World Cup. Indonesia.
That is correct. They were the first Asian team to qualify. That's right.
That's pretty cool, actually. I like that. I like that.
It's a mad
the Dutch
fact
East Indies.
And the reason why Austria were kicked out or withdrawn was because of Anschluss. Something happened in Anschluss. Yes. Only about that.
Yeah.
Well, he's gone.
Right, okay, we got a substitution for Australia. We missed one on that one. Is it? Does anybody know if it's a like-for-like switch or if it's a going attacking?
It was a like-for-like, I think. It's still the same. Still the same 4-3-3. Okay. Kind of switches to a 5-3-2 from time to time. It's still the same.
That's good.
They're trying to get high up the pitch. They're trying to get a second, which is good. Like there's 15 minutes left, so they can't sit back. They are looking for the second goal, and they're doing all right.
I mean, off the ball, they're not ball watching. They've got it. They've got everything planned and marked. They've got a decent defensive team.
It's very positional, and it's very positional, and it's kind of cool. They're doing well.
The Australian assistant coach, or I don't know if he's an assistant coach or what his exact role is he Rene Meulenstein? Used to be at Man U, the Dutch guy.
That's right. Yes, yeah.
It's a splitting image of him. It's him, yeah.
Yeah, he really look like. Yes, right. He's a bit.
I picked up on him now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got Quiroz, you got Meulenstein, you got anyone else in there?
It's a quite a few. Okay.
Steve McLaren, is he there?
He's probably
Exactly.
behind the scenes somewhere.
Yeah.
We've got a comment from Gab about the Dutch East Indies. I mean, because when you hear the East Indies, I always think about cricket and the Caribbean islands.
Yeah.
Gab was saying that they were called the Dutch Indies and not the East Indies. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. So it might be that the East Indies are in the Caribbean and the Dutch Indies are modern day Indonesia. I don't know if that is the case.
Well, I don't know if the name changed, but back in '38, like according to Wikipedia, anyway, they were called the Dutch East Indies.
Right.
I read an history book before that, but it might have been. But the interesting thing is that was the golden day of cinnamon trading and coffee trading.
Yeah.
Well, the Indies down there, they that's when they started planting the rubber trees. Wasn't it?
That's right. The rubber, yeah.
So they started planting rubber trees down there and they set up the plantations, and that's where they, like, because cars and planes and stuff have become more popular. There was a massive trade between the East Indies and Europe.
This scoreline will send Tunisia to the bottom of Group D.
There was a lot of primary industry that went on down there. A lot of primary industry.
So was the East India Company, was that all central to trade?
Which one?
The East India Company.
Yeah.
Is that all central to, yeah?
That's right.
They were big players. They were big players back then.
Exactly. And they had money in those days. I mean, football goes with money, wherever money is trickling out. The Germans and the Spanish leagues have suffered of late last season, but the Premier League is always well endowed, and you can see how well the players are coming through that. It'll be nice to see if this World Cup can give some of the African nations a better domestic league.
Yeah, I wonder are there still like natively European players who are eligible for Singapore? Is there a bunch of guys in the second division of England that are able to play for Singapore? I wonder.
I'm sure they will be. I'm not sure if they're playing.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. They're in Indonesia, the whole bunch of.
It's very possible. I mean, that kind of makes me think a bit of Zaha for Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
he kept knocking at the door of England, didn't he? But he was never picked. But he has some ancestry from the Côte d'Ivoire, doesn't he? Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
So when he wasn't picked, he just decided to play for them instead.
Yeah, like we had John Aldridge and Ray Houghton, and John Aldridge was as English as they come, and Ray Houghton, he was Scottish, but they had the right ancestry, so they could play for us, and we wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, another one that comes to mind,
like Ireland's football and history would be a lot different if it wasn't for those.
Yeah, another one that comes to mind would be like Bruce Grobbelaar, because He's like, well, I don't know.
Zimbabwean. He's
Yeah,
Zimbabwean.
He was born in Rhodesia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he,
right.
well, he could have. He was like that, but for Liverpool, he was ace. I mean, aside from the thing we won't mention, but yes, he was
Most famously, I think, like if you're looking at an Englishman who could play for a country outside one of the unorthodox football countries, a famous case is John Barnes, who could have easily
Yeah.
played for Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
He could have easily represented
Jamaica,
Jamaica.
That's right.
Um,
And I think there's someone right now, or there was not so long ago. Oh, Leicester City captain Wes Morgan, right?
Yeah, he was also Jamaica.
Jamaican,
Yeah.
isn't he? He played for
Yeah.
Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's an example. Oh, good hit. Straight
So,
up.
and then there's another one, Tahit Chong.
Mm.
Like, do they have a team in Curacao? Or is it St. Martin? St. Martin? Is it?
I don't know.
You must remember Dwight York as well. Do you remember?
We remember York.
He was discovered by accident because remember Graham Taylor. I can't remember what manager was he? Maybe Aston Villa. I might be wrong on that one.
Yeah, he was.
They did the East Indies in maybe the early '90s or something like that. Yeah, they just played this village team, and I think about half time they were so impressed that they actually made a request if the team would lend him, if they would lend him. The teams like York, so he put on there, kind of their kit and played for them instead in the second half. So Dwight Walker was from Trinidad and Tobago, wasn't he? And after that little friendly match they had on one of their summer tours, he ended up, making a career in England.
So Zach, you were right, Zach, about Moulenstein. That is Moulenstein.
That is
that's assistant coach for Australia. He's been there for 4 years.
That is Australia's got a good base. I mean, the only thing they need is a domestic league that's more competitive. Otherwise, I think. But they face the Aussie rules and they've got rugby. So
soccer's not even in the top 5 sports in Australia.
Does fishing beat it by any chance?
Cricket's more popular than soccer.
There's more people playing fishing, doing fishing every weekend than playing soccer or football. Interestingly, and trust me when I say the numbers on that. But go ahead. Yeah. So I think go on.
I've got a spurious claim. You ready for a hot take? Here's my hot take. Soccer does better in parts of the world where there's some space, but not too much space. So places where a suburb of a city is 5 miles outside of the city and not 30 miles outside of the city. Because you have to have the teams in the suburbs have to be able to play each other. Whereas if you have a soccer team in Australia and you have to play a league around Brisbane, it's probably a huge distance that you have to go to get the next game.
I mean, they play every other sport, no problem.
Well,
but the popularity is there for it.
With rugby and Aussie rules, they were developed very early in Australian history. So they played this a lot better than we did. They developed the game. But
exactly. And now you're looking to get people who are already playing a sport to play a different sport.
It's a tough one. But I'll say one thing though. The scouts are out in Australia for Man United. We're always looking for good. They've got good academy system. Sports academy in Australia is ace. I mean, be it whatever sport, soccer, be it squash, be it cricket. They're better at cricket than us. I mean, that's straightforward.
I think that's an interesting take, Owen, because think about China, huge sprawling cities, suburbs, miles and miles apart, hours apart. Do you think then that applies to China and why China right now is not successful at football when it probably should be, given the population?
I think it probably should be, But I don't think it has the chance to do it because there's not enough flat area that you can just go with a ball and a group of your mates and just kick it. There's very few like just places for free for kids to go and kick a ball. Like there's always too many people around. There's always too many people around.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean?
There's a difference in temperature too. I mean, think about it. They're playing this World Cup in the winter. So Australia play football in the winter, not in the summer. Would that be right?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So the weather plays a huge factor. Just the dry heat. Playing in dry heat is not easy. I tried once, and it's like, But as per your other comment about academies, a lot of academies in China, like Barcelona in China, City have got an academy in China. I'm pretty sure Leicester have got something going on. I'm not sure. Maybe James might know. But I'm aware about this. I'm very well aware about the City one. There was a City branch in Chongqing, and they made the one in Beijing now. And
Nando has the Benfica kids. He has the Benfica kids, and they're pretty good. Like the videos I see of those kids playing, again.
God, they can't get it past that, Ryan.
But it's a case of Ryan. Yeah, that's very good. But the thing is that you can have all the coaches from Benfica and Barcelona and whatnot and come into the country and teach these kids how to play football, and they will. But that doesn't have as broad an appeal as it should, because you're getting a specific amount of people who are interested in playing football, and it's not for everyone, which is what it is in countries where it's good. It's for everyone.
I mean, I think what's the difference between it is we're ingrained into a football culture. So all of us talk about histories and where we watch it with our grandparents or in a Butlins holiday somewhere or wherever we're. And they don't have that.
All we needed was a patch of grass. All we needed was a patch of grass. That's it.
And it's a working man's game. This everybody in Northern England play it. We don't need a fancy squash court.
I went to a ball.
I went in Manchester. Right, not many people play squash because it's a very kind of grammar school game. And I went to a grammar school where I discovered you could play a game against a wall, and I thought it was quite interesting. But end of the day, it's still football. It was like every single state school played football, and we played against state schools and we lost, and that was the culture of the game.
Yeah, and the other thing about it was that when you weren't in school, you were always playing football. Like when I was a kid, I played football every day. Like as a child, I played football every day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is like a part of the equation as well, because I remember also as a kid back in England, it didn't matter what the weather was like in England. It could be like the foulest winter day you could ever imagine. There was never an excuse for not going out, in your shorts and your sports gear and playing football or rugby or whatever. The PE teacher said, that's no excuse. You still got to go out. But it's probably similar for other, European countries as well. Particularly in the winter. But I do notice, I go out into the compound here every day, and if like the temperature is like below 10 degrees, then a lot of the parents or the grandparents, they say, oh, it's too cold. You can't go out in this weather.
It's too cold.
It's not good.
Or if there's like a tiny bit of drizzle or something like that, I'll take my daughter out. Go and find somebody to play with. But everyone's at home. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying this is like definitely a reason for this, but it might be that because you see China are really good at a lot of these indoor games, badminton, table tennis, things like that. But when it comes to kind of outdoor games, maybe like rugby or football or whatever. Maybe they're just, maybe at heart, somewhere deep down, they're not so keen on outdoor conditions.
It's because they don't like it when it rains. That's why.
But you did
or if it's sunny.
Exactly. But one thing, I asked Eric this question. Right? Did you have a football club, a rugby club, and a pub in the same place in your hometown?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Football club. Say that
Rugby
again.
club, pub in the same place. It was for me. For me, it was the same. It's like in northern Manchester, part of Disbury, we had the center of the community was not the church. It was a pub with a rugby club and a football club, and we used to play tag rugby, and then we played full contact. So by the age of 9 or 10, I'd been concussioned already, and and we played in all weathers. Like it was like 5 degrees. It was, and one time it was snowing. We were playing the snow, and my mom's like, "Yeah, just go out there, stop whinging," you know. And
Play with an orange-colored ball.
Exactly. And I did my shoulder in here a few times, and I've got my nose a few times, and my mom's like, "Yeah, go back."
You know, my brother was always a big rugby player when he was kind of around 11 or 12, and often he would come back from a match. At lunchtime or something like that, and you come back. You know, my friend would drop him off back at our house, and then like they would get out the car. They'd have to like kind of like hold him, so he was just like hopping. Because you know, he had some kind of like rugby tackle, and he could barely walk after.
Very saucy, by Sassy.
But we've got 2 Irishmen here. Then they play a game which is more brutal, and you've got the game you know what I'm talking about.
It's not brutal.
Hurling.
It's not brutal.
Gaelic
It's
football.
cold.
It's brutal.
Gaelic football.
Yeah, other football. Come on,
That wouldn't call that brutal.
let's translate Gaelic football into Chinese, because Chinese people have no understanding what is Gaelic football. It's beautiful game.
That's true. It's a football game. The pitch is bigger. There's more players on it, and you get points for kicking the ball over the bar. You get 1 point for kicking the ball over the bar, and you get 3 points for kicking the ball under the bar. There's 15 players on each side, and you have to you hold it in your hands. You have to bounce it or solo it off your foot. 1 point if it over the bar, 3 points under the bar. It's not violent or vicious, but there is more contact than in soccer. There is more contact.
Always being polite about more contact. You get rugby's contact, but in that game is
not close to rugby's contact. Not close to rugby's contact. Like rugby's, if you're down on the ground in rugby, people go in on top of you. Is it like in Gaelic? If you're down on the ground, like people will stand over you, but you will have to get up. Nobody's going to hit you, but they're going to make it so as you can't move.
You get fenced in. I get that.
Yeah.
That's true. You get fenced in. Get more concussions. You get more concussions in rugby than you get in Gaelic football. That is true.
Yeah.
So Gaelic football is the other variation to the game of football we're seeing today. So you might see in full of etymology of football, there's the changes. The Aussies changed that game when they went to Australia. They made something else out of that game, and they have which is I think is a very interesting game too. Interestingly,
Paul will be able to tell you the origins of Aussie rules.
Paul, Aussie rules. What happens in Aussie rules, and how did that come about? Did you rob it?
Very similar to Gaelic football, but they played on a cricket oval.
Yeah, on an oval pitch.
And they use an oval footy.
Yeah. But where does it come from? Is it kind of local? Is it?
Yeah, I reckon it's come from Gaelic football because it's very, very similar.
I think it's a mix of Gaelic and a local game that the boys were playing.
Yeah.
So it's very similar. It's very similar.
Come on.
Okay, so the final whistle is coming up. So we passed the mark. Yeah, and that's it. So Australia have won 1-0. They've had a great performance. I mean, I think Tunisia were kind of a lot brighter in the second half, but I do think on watching it that they kind of were a little bit weak in that final pass. And Australia were like very solid defending. So yeah, I would still say overall this has been a very deserved win. So I don't know what you guys think.
Right at the end of it, I broke my elastic band.
Paul, how do you feel as the Aussie team did respectable there? Very nice.
He's still watching. It's not over on his TV.
It's all over now.
Exactly. It's all over. Exactly.
Now,
Congratulations, Paul.
we've just got to draw with Denmark at the least,
Yeah.
and France do their business, and we'll go through.
Exactly. I think it's very respectful. If you get to the last 16, which I seeing this Australian side, seeing Australian football in my time and observing it, I really want them to develop this game because down under it's not well represented, and I think this might help the game. I'm rooting for Australia. Brilliant game.
They'll get it. So it's Argentina or probably Saudi Arabia.
Well, Matt Ryan, the goalie, he stopped about 10 goals.
He did, yeah. He had a great game.
Did well.
I think there's a few lads in the Australian team that United might want to nick in the next season. A good price.
That's what they'd be playing for.
Yeah.
The Gunners won't take him, but we'll definitely take him. We need some players like them. And they're Owen, go ahead. It's yours.
Oh, no. I think the Australians, they got the goal and then they kept attacking. They kept looking to get a second. They didn't get and Tunisia had a couple of good chances to take them. But the second half was just controlled basically by Australia, and yeah, they got the result and they deserve it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely do a bit of pressure in that second half, but very solid defending. Yeah, Tunisia maybe a little weak in the final pass.
Matty Ryan
well deserved.
maybe 10 goals, I reckon.
He did, but your goalkeeper's going to have to do that. You have to do it. He did his job. But yeah, that's he looked comfortable. He looked comfortable.
I think, I agree with you. They were comfortable. Australia composed as well. They took the goal well. I think an added factor may have been that Tunisia were somewhat tired from their performance against Denmark because they gave a lot in that game.
Yeah,
against Denmark, very physical. So maybe that sapped like a little bit of the energy from them.
Possible.
Because they could have got more from this game. They just, as you say, like the final third of the pitch just didn't come together for them. They panicked. The keeper, he made a couple of good saves, but nothing too spectacular. Didn't need to. He didn't need to.
He did his job.
Yeah. So I think deserved victory for Australia, and I think
we're still in
of going to the last 16.
Still in it, exactly. You have to be in it to win.
Yeah. I mean, even if they won one game in the whole competition, they've done well.
That's the monkey off their back. That's the monkey off their back. So they know they're at least capable now.
Okay, so at this point, I want to thank all the gentlemen here tonight for joining again with another live stream. Yeah, so I think we've had some great discussions, and really get to hear like these stories and our impressions on the events and our expectations on who's going to win. 我也给我们的观众总结一下呢，我们都一致认为，就是突尼斯的表现虽然比上半场要好很多，但是我们觉得可能他们最后一个传球这方面的可能稍微差了那么一点点，然后觉得澳大利亚这个澳洲队，觉得他们从一开始到最后就是始终可能他们防守方面表现的特别优秀，所以我们都觉得他们以1-0的成绩战败突尼斯是非常值得的。就恭喜澳洲队，然后非常感谢我们的嘉宾，又参与我们今天晚上的活动，然后期待我们的中国观众下一次在我们现场直播。Okay, so I think we're going to bring this live stream to an end. So I just want to thank you again for taking part. And maybe next week we'd like to choose another game. I'd also say as well that we haven't had quite as many viewers today, maybe because of the time, because of 6 p.m. A lot of people, are kind of getting stuck into their dinner and all that. So maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday, we will aim for another 9 p.m. game. And come the time, if you're free, yeah, we would definitely welcome you to take part again.
Yes.
Okay, mate.
Thanks.
Go.
Good to see you, boys.
Good to see you, Paul.
See you, Paul.